So now I want to talk about the science of play. Because after all, energizers are just basically short, punchy, directed, purposeful versions of play. And in the last 20 years, there has been a robust research into the field of play. And so to get into that science, I'm going to put on my nerdy glasses. And I want to begin by talking about how play helps shape our brain in all kinds of wonderful ways. It helps expand our neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to grow and to develop, given experiential circumstances. That neuroplasticity, as you will see, will lead to increased learning and growth, and in particular, creativity and innovation. I'm also going to expose you to some really awesome scientists that have dedicated almost all their life to researching play and how they use rats in particular to isolate them from specific play environments at a young age and then see what actually happens to those rats. Quick clue, it's not a good thing. And then at the end, I want to wrap it up by getting maybe a little bit more philosophical or having a little bit more of a social science orientation and talk about how play helps us achieve purpose while at the same time helping us lead happier and better lives. So let's start with Andrew Huberman, the Stanford Medical School professor and YouTube phenom. He's a neuroscientist, and this is what he has to say about neuroplasticity and play.
Thus far, I've tried to convince you through a combination of data and anecdote and explanation that adopting a stance of playfulness and indeed engaging in play on a somewhat regular basis could be beneficial to you regardless of circumstances or goals. If I haven't done that already, what I'm about to tell you hopefully will push you over the line. It turns out that when you look across the kingdom of all animals, what you find is that animals that engage in playful behaviors for the longest period of time are also the animals that have the greatest degree of neuroplasticity, the brain and nervous system's ability to change in response to experience. Put differently, animals that only play for a very small fraction of their entire life have very rigid brains that don't learn new things. Whereas animals that play for a long period throughout their life have very plastic brains. And there's even some evidence, it's at this point largely anecdotal, but there's some data starting to emerge, that adults that maintain a playful stance, that engage in things, again, that are low stakes, contingency exploring, important enough that people focus and that people pay attention to what they're doing, but that they are not, filled with adrenaline, freaked out about the outcome being A or B.
I want to stop him here and reflect on what he just mentioned. He described play with three particular characteristics, right? Low stakes, contingency exploring, and being a little bit nervous and anxious, but not way too much, but enough to be focused. Those are the three characteristics, of course, that I've been using to describe energizers, right? It's so fitting to at least the way that I see energizers playing out. So the first thing, low stakes. The reason why energizers are so powerful is because the risks are very, very low. It doesn't really matter if you get the 1, 2, 3 exercise wrong or if you're not a great dancer, right? Because everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's screwing up. It's a short period of time. There are no tremendous potential risks out there when you're exploring through energizers. So it's very low risk. So now that leads us to the second concept of contingency exploring. I love how Andrew uses nerd talk to basically just say that when we are playing and doing energizers, we're experimenting into the world. We're exploring different options, different results. in a low stakes manner. And so hence our broad exploration. When stakes are really, really high, we tend to explore very little because we don't want to have things explode in our faces. But when the stakes are very, very low, then we have the liberty to move and dance and make fool of ourselves and laugh with ourselves and with others. Right? And then finally, that third component probably starts to remind you of the energy onion, right? This idea that we need to be a little bit stressed, a little bit anxious, dipping very slightly into the anxiety zone, but most of the time really revolving around the learning zone and dipping in and out, right? Staying slightly stressed enough to keep us focused and to keep us present and to keep us caring, but at the same time, not completely freaking out where we literally block ourselves from learning. Anyway, more of Andrew.
They're not super, super competitive, maybe just a little bit competitive or not competitive at all. That allows for more ongoing plasticity. And one of the people that comes to mind in thinking about this is, of course, the physicist and I should say the great physicist Richard Feynman, Nobel Prize winner, professor at Caltech, was involved in the Manhattan Project, but was also known for being a lifelong tinkerer, right? He also was a mischievous tinkerer. If you read any of the books about Feynman or by Feynman, Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman, or What Do You Care What Other People Think? These are wonderful short stories, mostly about Feynman doing things like picking all the locks at the Los Alamos laboratory and putting all the top secret documents out on the floor of the office so that when people came in the morning, they were all out there. Obviously, they weren't released to the general public. He didn't want to threaten national security. But playing pranks like that. And actually, Caltech, I don't know if this is still the case, but Caltech, where he was employed, was always known for doing very technologically challenging pranks. They're not known for their athletic prowess at Caltech. Sorry, Caltech. But they were known, for example, disrupting the scoreboard at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, for instance, and things of that sort through technological feats that, at least at the time, required a lot of playfulness and technological prowess. So if you look in science or you look in art or you look in medicine or you look in any domain, what you find is the people that continue to evolve new practices tend to be people that were tinkerers, people that are very creative, tend to be people that are unafraid of exploring things in this low stakes way. They're not so rigidly attached to the outcome that they have to do everything perfectly all the time. Now, they might cloak these playful behaviors so that their final works always look perfect or always look incredible, but they have this kind of playful nature about them.
So this is another area that I want to talk about really quickly. So he uses particularly the example of this academic, this physicist at Caltech, to describe how he was playful and at the same time extremely successful, Nobel laureate. And I can think about a lot of other examples, particularly in my educational experience, where professors and scientists were a bit out there, right? There were the crazy professor types, the quirky individuals, the eccentrics. Unfortunately, where I think these types of individuals are lacking is in the business world and also in the public sector, right? These environments, the quote unquote professional environments, tend to be much more rigid, right? They seem to restrict individuals from operating under more of this free, open, playful, explorative approach. Maybe it's because these individuals, particularly corporate leaders, have really high stakes at play. And so they need to find ways to compartmentalize the way that they play. Hence, Energizers. Energizers give individuals the capacity to tap into their playful spirits, which we all have and will be seeing soon in a couple more videos that I want to show you, without actually risking the reputation of their organization or the financial standing of their corporation, right? It's a great way to rapid prototype their playful spirits. And so what I want to do through this course is to help you understand, regardless of whether you're a really, really high level leader or a middle manager or a student, that using energizers in really purposeful ways will help us tap into all these wonderful growth opportunities in the brain and and socially that Andrew Huberman is talking about.